Okay, good morning, everybody. It's 9:56, so we'll get started in about 4 minutes. All right, we want to start right on time, so it's 9:58. So if you want to text anybody, let them know we're about to start. We're going to start right at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I'm sorry. We have a lot of work to do today, so we're going to make this 1 hour, and we're going to start right at 10 o'clock. Of course, everything will be recorded and posted. So use the website. If we having any difficulties with logging in, I don't know if the link was right in the email. It sounds like it may have been wrong for a couple people. I believe that the correct link is on the website, so you could just refer everybody to the website.
Hey, Jay, I was just talking to Marissa, and she's going to update the Facebook right now.
Okay. Yeah. Was there a wrong link somewhere?
In the B mail, it looks like the link that was there was for the last town hall.
Okay. So do we need to wait another minute or so?
I'd give it a few minutes. Yes.
All right. Well, we are delayed, everybody. We'll wait a few more minutes, okay? We'll post it on Facebook, and the website should be correct as well, I believe.
The website is correct. I'll join from the website.
All right, well, I'd like to go ahead and get started to be respectful of people's times. I know we have a very busy day around here today, so I apologize for the wrong link. We do have 62 people on here, Wendy, which is really around our average that we've had in the last. If we have any more, don't worry, this is always recorded. This is always posted. Anybody can come back and watch, and hopefully we'll have some people join, but it's been correct on the website. Apologies about the B-mail. But everybody should see my slideshow in front of me, Morris Brandon Elementary School Reopening Town Hall Phase 2. Is that correct? Can I just get a thumbs up really quickly? Awesome. We're going to kick it off right now with our awesome PTA presidents, because you may have not known, but this is also a PTA general meeting. So I'm going to hand it over to Wendy Ray, our PTA president, who's going to kick off our meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jay. I'm Wendy Ray, and Michelle Hatch and I are your PTA co-presidents this year. And we're going to have a very brief update today. We know everyone's anxious to get to Principal Bland and all the information that he has to share. So if Principal Bland, if you could move to the next slide, please. Great, thank you. First thing on our agenda that we want to cover is, so many of you have reached out to us wanting to help our teachers, and we appreciate that so much. You've offered to bring things in for day one. And so we've asked the teachers to work with the RIM parents to create a sign up so that each of you can sign up to bring things that that your teachers need. We do ask that you go ahead and sign up. We just want to make sure teachers aren't getting too much of one item and not enough of another. So signing up on the Sign Up Genius would be great. Those items can be sent on day one, or they can be brought to school and dropped off in the lobby ahead of time. Just make sure that items are clearly labeled with the teachers' names. I do see a question about air purifiers. Jay, can you talk to that?
Oh, sure. I assume what about air purifiers? That means
Just asking if parents can provide air purifiers for their classrooms.
No, parents cannot provide any PPE for the classrooms outside of what's requested in regard to just cleaning supplies. We need to keep that equitable around the building. Plus, there's very strict rules around which air purifiers can be used. But again, we're confident with the mitigation strategies that we have in place for now. So we are asking that parents do not send in individual items like that to their classes.
Thank you. So most of the items on the wish list are things like paper towels, Kleenex, Clorox wipes, things like that. Okay, next item, call for committee chairs. So this is the time of year that we start looking ahead to the next school year and start recruiting our wonderful volunteers to help our PTA and school run. We have over 60 committees, which allows for over 100 leadership positions. So there's really something for everyone, whether you want something really hands-on, if you want something that you can do from home at night after your kids go to bed. We really have a variety of positions, and we'd love to have anyone who wants to be involved. There's really a lot of opportunity. So this week in the B-mail, there was a form, a link to a form that was sent out. If you're interested, click on that form, fill it out. Be sure to do that by the deadline of February 17th, and we will look forward to being in touch with you about opportunities for committee chairs for the PTA. We are currently working on updating the PTA calendar for this year. Obviously, this calendar has been very fluid, ever-changing this year. We appreciate everyone's patience with that. Two big updates that we want to make sure everyone's aware of is we will be having readathon. We're very excited about that. That will be coming up in the next couple of months. A date for readathon will be announced shortly. It will be virtual, but it'll basically be run as it always has been with your kids reading a ton and logging their minutes and trying to reach their goal. Book fair was originally scheduled for the first week in February. Well, Morris Brandon has a lot going on that week, so we've decided we're going to reschedule that. So stay tuned for a new book fair date that'll be announced shortly. We want to thank everybody again for those of you that were able to commit to donate to our B Fund this year. We're happy to say that the Morris Brandon Foundation was able to help purchase desk shields for our classrooms to prepare for the children returning. So thank you again for those donations. We're at 99% of our B fund goal this year, which is really incredible considering the circumstances. So thank you again. And if you would like to contribute, the B fund is open through the end of the year. Lastly, yearbooks. There's 3 updates there. Number 1, if you don't have your yearbook from last year, we still have those available. So please email us or email Ashley Portis and we will get that to you. Number 2, if you haven't purchased your yearbook for this year, please make sure to do that. And number 3, yearbook portraits. So our amazing yearbook chair, Ashley Portis, has done an outstanding job. She's communicated with everyone the directions on how to upload your child's portrait and how to take those pictures. The Jostens website is no longer accepting the uploads, but Ashley has been so helpful and is offering to upload those 4 families individually. We're missing about 200 portraits. So if you haven't had a chance to do that, please this weekend try to take your child's picture and email it to Ashley so that she can get those all uploaded and get our yearbook put together. And thank you, Ashley, for all you're doing. That's all we have from PTA perspective. If you have any questions, you can chat Michelle or me on this Zoom call, or as always, don't hesitate to email us at any time. Jay, do you want me to cover the carpool or did you want to cover that? Okay, all right. So let's talk about carpool before we turn it back over to Principal Bland. Anyone who's going to pick up in carpool must have a carpool number. Even if you're only going to do that once a week, you need to make sure that you're registered with a carpool number. So to do that, you'll go to our Morris Brandon website, look for Parent Toolkit at the top, click on Transportation, and you will see all the instructions for carpool. You'll see a link to register for a number. You'll see all of our procedures, rules, lots of information, everything that you'll need to know about carpool. This year, when you arrive in the carpool line to pick up your child, in addition to having your carpool number, we're asking that everyone have a sign in your front window with your carpool number, your child's name and grade, your child's teacher. And if you'd like a template for this, you can click on our website. Sarah Perry, our carpool chair, has done a fantastic job. She's put together a great template. You can click on that, print it out, fill it out, and keep it in your car so that when you pull up to either campus, you can show that through your front window. That's just going to help expedite with our new carpool process for releasing the students. A quick reminder, a friendly reminder, not to speed through our campus neighborhoods. Don't block driveways or entrances. Just we ask everyone to be mindful as we're driving through these neighborhoods. An important point for primary center. We know some parents have not done carpool yet. An important point there is to make sure that you do not turn left into the primary center during carpool. So you need to make sure that you're following the carpool route. And again, if you click on our website and go through those directions to get to transportation and carpool, you can find the route there. Any questions about carpool, you can email us, but you can also email Sarah Perry at carpool@morrisbrandon.com.
Wendy, there are just a question here. If they have multiple children that they're picking up, then yes, if you could please fill out multiple forms, because the new procedure is that staff has to call into the homeroom in order to release the child. So we will need each separate teacher and child name.
That's right. Thanks, Michelle. Okay, Principal Bland, I think we can turn it over to you.
Okay, awesome. Well, it looks like we are up to a lot more people. So I apologize for the B-mail miscommunication if that got in there. But it's been right on the website. It's been right all along. So, in those places. So thank you guys for joining us on this third and final town hall. Just a couple of housekeeping as always. I want to continue to say thank you. Thank you as a million times possible over to our families for being so supportive during this time, for sticking with us, for working with us, for being thought partners with us and helping us all move in the same direction. So thank you to that for all of our families. We have some admin on the call. who are absolutely amazing. And this could not be done without them. I don't know if you guys know, we are working around the clock for a safe reopening for our students. So we do have Ms. Ekper and Ms. Hall, our assistant principals that are here that will be answering questions in the chat box for you. And we also have Mr. Hudson, our amazing program admin, who will be answering questions in the chat box, but we'll also have a speaking role today. And I promised them I would not be talking the entire time because I do want you to hear from some of our other building leaders as we move into in-person learning. This is the third town hall. So we have covered a lot of information up until this point. I want you to know that if this is your first town hall, you may not get all the information that you're wanting because we had to roll it out and we could be here probably all day going back through everything that we've talked about. We will do our best to hit upon some things that we've spoken about prior, but this town hall is to make sure that our families are as ready as they can be for Monday. And that's because it's just a lot of work. It is. So we want to do our best to make sure that you have all the basics you need, everything that you need moving into that day, and we'll go ahead and get started. I really want to try and keep this to an hour if possible, because we have a ton of work to do today. We want to give you all as much attention as you need, but we're going to be moving and we have a lot of slides to cover. So if you have some questions, type them in the chat box and let's get started. All right, so here's our agenda today. We're going to talk about our communication and timeline. We're going to talk about a 4-step process for tracking COVID, and we're going to hear from our amazing nurse, Oxman, again. We're going to talk about transportation a little bit, what bus riding will look like, where you can access some bus routes. We're going to talk a little bit about arrival and dismissal and carpool, as well as our walkers. We're going to give a little schedule update to make sure you understand. We're going to talk about DLI for a minute. And we're going to talk about an intention return for Morris Brandon students, and we'll do a closing at the end. We'll have questions in the chat box and we'll be able to answer questions as we move through. I'm sorry my microphone is having static. It does that when I have a lot of people on. I'm not really sure why. Are you able to understand me or get the gist of what I'm saying? Can I get a, yeah, okay. I'm not talking the whole time, so hopefully. I can't wait to talk in person. I can tell you that. I'm not staticky when you actually talk to me in person. Our communication timeline is here. Okay, we have gone through a lot since December 17th. We are now down here on January 22nd for our final town hall. I want to remind everyone that our students for K2 are slated to return on Monday, and our students for 3-5 a week later. I want to remind you to continue reading the B-mail and all of my updates in the B-mail. We have Go Team as a very important role coming up that we're going to discuss. And our communication plan is here. Continue to visit morrisbrandon.com for all sorts of updates. And of course, Atlanta Public Schools Superintendent blogs all things reopening. Okay. I'm going to hand this over to Nurse Oxman, who's going to talk about a new slide that's tracking COVID-19 cases within APS. I do want everybody to know that APS is developing a COVID dashboard so we can track COVID cases throughout our schools. That's an internal dashboard. And then from my understanding, those numbers will be shared on a public dashboard through the superintendent's website. So there is public information related to that. But without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to our awesome nurse who's going to walk us through a few of these slides.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bland. Good morning, everybody. And once again, to reiterate Mr. Bland's appreciation of all that the PTA and parents do to support our school and students and community. We're going to really be relying on the entire community as we go face to face to keep everybody safe and have it be successful. So just really quickly, the tracking, there's going to be 4 different steps, basically: report, trace, notify, inform, and quarantine. We can go to the next slide, Mr. Bland. So communication is going to be really key to this whole process. So basically from the parents, obviously we're going to be getting the information from you all first. We really need to have you report any positive cases, students being diagnosed, to the principal and the school nurse. If you forget to add the school nurse, the principal will be forwarding it to us. So just be aware of that. We're going to be, myself or Nurse Ward over at the primary campus will be kind of the main communication piece with collaborating with health services along with Mr. Bland. We are going to be completing our first dashboard report on cases within the staff. I believe today we had a little in-service on it yesterday. So in reference to that dashboard piece, you'll start seeing some of that data coming out soon. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like, but we've been instructed to complete our first report, this week. We have been reporting weekly to the Department of Public Health cases of staff and students when we had the intervention. So we'll be continuing to do that. So as we receive the information from parents about positive students, we've reported it to the principal, the school nurse. We'll be contacting health services, and we'll start the case investigation process, which will include exposure assessment. So we will be looking at classroom seating charts. We'll be looking at bus seating charts. I will be communicating with parents probably more than one occasion in regards to exposure. And I kind of was just looking at some of the chats. So something else that we'll need to be taking into consideration. So when we do reach out to parents, if there was a case or an exposure, that carpool. So it looks like maybe there might be some families that are carpooling together. I'm just speculating there. So these will be things that we'll need to be looking at in regards to the contact tracing. You can go ahead and take it to the next slide, Mr. Bland, please. Okay, so once we have kind of determined what that looks like in terms of the contact tracing, that's defined here, anyone who was within 6 feet of the case for a cumulative of 15 minutes or greater. So, there could be 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes here. And once we get to the cumulative 15 minutes or greater in the school setting, once again, such as a classroom, bus, meetings, that could be more for staff, but carpool might be something that we're all be looking at as well. We will then be coming up with notifications, and that we will be distributing those notifications to those people who have been impacted by that particular case. That communication, I believe, Mr. Bland, is going to be primarily through email, do you think? So it's really, really important at this point in time, because that communication piece, that we have updated contact information for parents, telephone numbers, email. If you see a phone call coming from the school, it's going to be really important that you either answer that or check that voicemail very quickly. We are anticipating with our students when we go face-to-face that there's going to be an increase in phone calls going out to parents. One, clarifying information. We know our students share things in the classroom with teachers and friends. Sometimes that information is not always 100% accurate, but it's our obligation to follow up on that information. And so we would be contacting parents to clarify anything that students might share with us. Please know that all that information is confidential. When we do send notifications out to the potential people who've been impacted by a positive case, the information is confidential. We don't share specifics on cases, but it is our obligation to report cases to the Department of Health, to Fulton County Board of Health. They share that information with us as well. However, the reality is going to be most likely we might be receiving the information first and sharing it with the Fulton County Department of Health. So that communication piece is essential.
So we have a lot of questions coming in.
Okay.
And I want Nurse Oxman to just be able to finish her presentation for a minute, because some of it will be answered. But I also want people to know that a lot of this was answered in the last town hall as well. So we could spend a lot of time on our COVID procedures and protocols, because it sounds like that's what people want to know the answers to. So I will ask some of these questions as soon as we're done with the next couple slides, to make sure that everybody has the answers to these. And then please continue to refer to our PowerPoints and our previous town hall, where a lot of these questions were answered again.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this is, I'm not going to go over this too much. I think Mr. Bland you might speak to this, or maybe you already have, but if for some reason your student is in quarantine, they are going to be working asynchronously through the content posted in the Google Classroom. Teachers will meet one-on-one with a student during the asynchronous Wednesdays time, if needed, to receive more one-on-one support. And we're going to continue to monitor that process for changes. Okay, so isolation. Isolation is when somebody has been diagnosed with COVID-19. So if a parent has been diagnosed with COVID-19, we need to be informed with that. Any household members of the student testing positive, we need to be informed of that. Obviously, if your child is test positive or is diagnosed with COVID-19, we need to be informed with that. So the child would need to stay home from school during the recommended isolation period, and we'll be following the Department of Health guidelines for that. We want to make sure that I am able to contact parents to follow up with all the information that I need to gather to successfully complete our contact tracing assessment process. So once again, you'll be hearing from me or Nurse Ford over at the primary campus. So please make sure all your contact information is current and up to date. Go ahead and take it to the next slide, please, Mr. Bland. And then the quarantine. Quarantine is something that gets a little bit trickier depending upon when that last known exposure to the case is. And in the household situation, that can get complicated. So let's say a parent tests positive, the student, the children in a household, we don't start that quarantine until the last day of exposure. Some families have the ability to isolate the person who has tested positive or has been diagnosed with COVID-19. That's obviously ideal, and therefore the quarantine of the other people who've been exposed in the household can begin sooner and then ideally end sooner. However, sometimes that's not the case. So if there's ongoing contact with the parent to the child and the child's the one who's been exposed, the child's quarantine would not begin until the parent ends their isolation. So potentially that quarantine period could be much longer than a traditional setting if the parent or the person who's tested positive has been able to isolate in the home. So I don't want to go into too much detail. I just want you to be aware that we will be working very closely with each family to determine what's going to be the appropriate time frame for a student who tests positive or a student who's been exposed to either someone in the household who's tested positive or being exposed someplace else. Did you want me to speak to this, Mr. Bland, as well?
This is just the closing slide. If you wanted to talk, I think that we had a question about if a teacher tests positive, does the whole class have to quarantine? So maybe this can answer that.
Yeah, so if a teacher tests positive, potentially, once again, we're going to take each situation and we're going to look at it individually. We know our classrooms are being set up with 6 feet apart. We know we're going to have the desk shields, which thank you very much. That's going to really, really help with our mitigation strategies. I would say there's probably a really good chance that a good part of the classroom would have to quarantine. We just have to wait and see. It really just depends upon how that classroom is set up. If a student in the class tests positive, once again, we're going to look at all the potential exposure that may have occurred. It'll be really easy for us to determine based upon seating charts in the classroom and on the bus. We'll have to look at the recess. That will be a little bit trickier. So we'll be working with the teachers to be helping us gather that information as well into determining potential contact. Not to go into a lot of detail, but Mr. Bland and the administrators and the teachers have worked out kind of different zones in the playground. So really limiting the exposure that kids will be having outside of their original cohorted classroom has been the main emphasis.
All right, awesome. And you know what, we have a few questions maybe that if we our admin team did a really good job of answering them, but Fume, is there anything that we need Nurse Oxman to be able to respond to? I think we had a couple questions, Nurse Oxman, around if students have antibodies or do they have to quarantine? And I know the answer to that, but I will let you say it.
I really don't want to go into a lot of details on all of that right now. We will be working really closely with the Department of Public Health in terms of what those guidelines are, and they are changing. And so we will do our best to keep abreast of all the changes with Department of Public Health too. So, and I know that, vaccine will be out. I've already had my first dose. So we're hoping that families are going to be able to have that opportunity as well. And that will probably have a little bit of a play moving forward into those scenarios. So once again, I don't want to go into real specifics with everything. It's just really important that when you know that you've had somebody that has tested positive, that you communicate that information immediately to the school, so that then we can start initiating all of the information gathering that we need to implement all of the isolation guidance, as well as quarantine guidance that we work with the health department. I hope
All right,
that was
awesome. Yeah, that was great. Thank you. It's really important for everybody to know that the school's job is to report the case to our nursing services, HR department, Department of Public Health. We don't make any decisions. Everything is given to us. Everything is told to us. Our goal is to implement the mitigation strategies, how they were done. And I feel confident with what we have that we will be in good shape with that. I had a really good question from a parent on here that said, well, if we're implementing the mitigation strategies, why would we have to worry about close contacts? And you're right. If our teachers and our students can work and agree to staying 6 feet apart when they're inside and when they're in their classroom and walking through the hallways, then yeah, we won't have as many students that have to quarantine. That's the goal. Somebody said if they're on a bus though, and they're close to a bus, will the whole bus have to quarantine? Will they do? And the answer is yes. That's why riding a bus is a privilege and it's not a right. But if you have no choice but to ride the bus, please do. We're going to talk about bus mitigation strategies in a minute, but that does put you at an increased risk of being around other people, especially ones that are not in your class. But do not worry about riding the bus, because we do have 12 buses this year, more. We have less students. We have a lot less students riding the bus, and we have mitigation strategies in place for that as well. But let's keep moving on, because we have a lot to cover today. So thank you, Nurse Oxman. Continue to type questions in the box if you have it. And Nurse Oxman is our resident RN, by the way. And we do have another nurse at our primary center who's also oversees a lot of our COVID guidance. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Ekper, who handles our transportation. She's going to talk a little bit about buses and some of those mitigation strategies.
Hi, everyone. So yes, like Jay said, I'm going to be talking about buses. The district requires that all students riding the bus will wear a mask and socially distance, but as you can imagine, this might not always happen. So Jay made a really good point about how a majority of our families are carpool, so there will be less kids on the bus. However, if you do not feel comfortable with this, we do encourage you to use other transportation methods, because again, they're pushing for it and they're going to require it. But as far as actually making sure it happens consistently, that might not always happen. But these are the mitigation techniques that they are using when it comes to buses. They're going to sanitize twice a day. As weather permits, they're going to have the roof hatch and the windows open to promote airflow. If a student enters a bus, they don't have a mask, the bus driver will give them one, and then students will load from the rear of the bus to the front. And depending on the number of students, they will try to accommodate social distancing as much as they can.
And one important slide that's not on here I want to mention is bus drivers will not be giving temperature checks in the morning.
Right.
So only temperature checks and health screenings are done by the families at home. Okay, we always check our students before they leave to make sure they're healthy to go to school. But bus drivers will not be doing temperature checks. Those are done at the school. So it's really important that families know that. So you are putting your child on a bus with students who have not fully been screened yet.
Right. You can go to the next slide. All right, so bus routes are posted on the APS transportation page. I do encourage you to definitely check if you are choosing to use buses as your form of transportation, because we do have some new routes, and then also some older buses are now like doing different routes than they did before. So please definitely go on, check, make sure you have the right bus for your student. Next week, as you know, only the PC will be opening. And so all 12 of the buses will be coming to the PC. And so we already know with Margaret Mitchell, there's a lot going on. We have carpool, we have our buses coming in. And so just be patient with us, give us some grace when it comes to our arrival and dismissal. For dismissal next week, we're going to try to stagger those 12 buses, so it should be a little bit more easier to navigate. However, just, for next week, just give us a little bit of grace and we'll try to make it work logistically. When the main campus opens, it'll just be like what we've always done, where half of the buses go to the primary campus and the other half will go to main campus, and then we'll switch. We will be running our shuttle. Our shuttle will leave at 7:35 a.m. at both campuses. And just remember that, we're expecting our arrival to, be delayed because we have so many more students who will be in carpool. So arrival will last until 8:15.
Awesome, thank you. Just a reminder that this PowerPoint will be posted, so you could literally click on this hyperlink once you access it, but I believe we posted the bus routes on morrisbrandon.com, and they are also available on the APS website.
Yes. Next slide.
And before you leave, Ms. Ekper, just a couple questions that I had on here. Siblings that ride the bus together, the bus driver will definitely seat siblings and households closer together. That's a good question. They'll have that list. And then if you have any questions about transportation around your buses, your bus logistics, I know Claudia had a question about her bus stop. Call the main office and they'll connect you or give you a number that we can contact or email transportation, and they can make those changes. They can definitely fix that if something doesn't look right.
Yes, and there was a slide I put on here about the new app for buses. I'll make sure it's at the end of the presentation. I can talk to you all about it, but I'm really excited. APS has created an app where parents can track exactly where their students are. And so I'll give you a little bit more detail. I'll put it towards the end of the presentation, Jay.
Awesome, thank you. We will be running shuttles, but we're not encouraging the shuttle, because if you can pick up a child at main campus who's at primary, we encourage you to go to the campus where your child is at. However, our buses do need to switch. We understand that many of our students do need to ride a shuttle. Those will be running, but with the same guidelines in place, the morning and afternoon. All right, Mr. Hudson, tell us a little bit about PC and carpool.
So we are super excited to have everyone coming back on January 25th, Monday. And when they arrive, it is going to be a new adventure, because we've made the best plans we can and we've considered everything, but we know that that first day of school is always very hectic. So we're going to make sure that cars turn right into our driveway from carpool. And we're going to also put out some additional information about some of the best ways to route into the school, like taking Wesley Parkway and coming up Parkwood instead of driving towards the school, because there will be no lefts and it'll be extremely difficult to make a left on that day, especially with us having buses across the street, teachers parking in front of the school. And so we'll put out some additional information about that. When students show up, they need to be ready to exit their cars immediately. And we ask, please, I know it's almost like the first day of school again, but please, do the pictures of going back to school, do that at home, have them with their book bags at home, off campus, and whatever you can, because when you pull up to the school, we really need to relieve congestion. So we really need parents to be able to just drop the students and leave. We will have so many people in place. We have all of the main campus staff that will be in place as kindergarten ambassadors to help escort those students to class. We have labels that we printed for each student, so as they move through the hallway, they can be directed to the classrooms. So we will have everything in place to make sure that they get to class safely, but we need you all to drop off and head out as soon as possible. Also, please pull up as far as you can without impeding our buses. And so we want you to pull up to that main entrance, because we will have about 6 buses at the gym. And then in addition to that, we will have those buses, as I said before, on the street, and they need to pull in as soon as one bus leaves. And as time goes on, we have this arrival going until 8:15 in the morning. But as time goes on with learning the processes and getting everything together, we're anticipating that that will go back to 8 o'clock before students start to enter the building. And we lost the PowerPoint for a moment. 1 second.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hudson. I'm trying to refresh it because I wanted to make sure that these new slides got in there. So it's coming. Everything's just a tad bit slower right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Just give it 1 second. I wanted to make sure that the carpool, the bus remind slide made it in there.
Yeah, and it's not just because of Zoom. I'm trying to refresh on my computer. It's moving slowly as well. And anyway, so as we think about that,
Can you see it? Can you see a slide?
back up.
Yes. Okay.
So the main campus students, wait a minute, this is a new slide. Okay. So just a reminder to please just be very patient with us during that first week. We'll be fine tuning everything, moving staff around and changing our logistics a little bit just to make sure that we can accommodate everyone and get them in more quickly. Depending on how the buses go and carpool goes, we'll need to make some changes, but we're thinking about it. We're making moves and we're making changes on the fly as we see we have need. Next slide, please. So when we talk about entering the building for the primary campus, which will happen on Monday, as you enter into the carpool lane, there's a door right there. That will be the second grade entrance. As you pull down to the media in front of the main entrance, that's where kindergarten will enter. And in front of the media center is where first grade will enter. All students will stop at that main door and then walk down to their designated doors in order to get their temperatures taken and to be checked for PPE and different symptoms before entering the building. As I said before, please make sure that all the pictures, all that first day of school type activities, that we do those at home or off campus so that we don't impede traffic and create more congestion. The main campus walkers are going to enter into the backyard gate and through their grade level entrance whenever possible. So they will go in through the backyard. They'll have their designated doors, which we'll go over in more detail. And for PC dismissal, we need parents to be cognizant at all times of social distancing, as the bus riders will leave out of the gym. The walkers will leave out of the entrance by the media center. Carpool students will leave out of the main entrance. And so we'll have a document that goes out to all the teachers. They'll be seeing as you all pull up. I'll be outside before dismissal to get those parents that like to line up a little early. You know, sometimes we have parents that line up early. So we'll come get all of those names and have them on the board. So as soon as dismissal starts, those students will start to exit the building. And if you ever have any questions about carpool, dismissal, anything PC related, you can always call us directly at 404-802-7280. And if the questions are for main campus, you can dial 404-802-7250. And that also, those are the numbers that you will receive calls from during the day when if we call or have to inform you of something, that's where you'll get a call from.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Great presentation. Parents, we have tons and tons of staff ready and willing and able to get your kids to class that first day. Do not worry. The good news is our kindergartners have already been there before. So believe it or not, unless you're a part of one of those homerooms that we had to divide out, they do know where their classrooms are. But we have extra staff on hand to do that. We have kindergarten ambassadors. We have staff at every entrance throughout the building. And then all of our teachers are required to stand at their doors as well. So and somebody asked a question about sharing maps about where the classes are. We actually don't share maps for safety reasons. But just know that honestly, after day one, your kids are going to feel really good about where they're going. And the good news is this feels like day one, but it's actually day 64 of school. So they're but who's counting, right? But they are, they're going to be ready and willing, and we have a way to get them to class. No worries. I want you to remember our focus Number one is safety. Number two is social emotional learning, like making sure that our students feel good and there's no crying and that they get them where they are. And then third is going to be the instructional piece. So we're going to focus on those first two very much that first week and make sure our students feel comfortable, feel great with their new teachers, and know where they're going. So we are ready for that. I do want to remind everybody about the mask policy on campus. I envision a lot of parents walking kids or wanting to take photos day one. I know we want to line up in front of the buildings and take pictures of our kids walking in, but I am asking you to please take those photos before you leave the house. We don't want extra people around the doors. We need to drop our kids off and then let us take it from there because that's our job. Listen, I'm a kindergarten dad. I get it. Like I want to walk my child to class and take photos of him with his teacher, but I will not do that. And I've told my wife not to do that as well. We're going to drop off in carpool and we're going to go. And he's going to get down to his class because I know that our dedicated staff and teachers are going to get him there.
Jay,
All right.
before we move from transportation, can we go back a couple of slides to the app?
Yep, let's do it because I uploaded.
Here we go. Perfect. All right, so it's called Here Comes the Bus app. What you will need to do, the directions are here, but they're also online on the APS website, and we can also put it on our website too. You're going to download the app. You can do it on the phone, a tablet, on your computer. You're going to hit sign up. You're going to put in our school, the district specific code 87794. You're going to enter in some like student information, and then from there you are set, you are good to go. And what's really great about this app is that it's going to tell you when the bus leaves the school. It's going to tell you when the bus is within 1 mile radius of your school. And so it's just really great that, because we kind of know that, and we can kind of expect that there will be delays in transportation. And so this will really help you kind of see where your child is and when you can expect them home. So please, I definitely recommend that you go ahead and download this app.
Awesome. Information is real time. We got this information about a day and a half ago. So that's why we're trying to get more things into our slideshow because we get new stuff every day. But let's go ahead. Were there any questions that we didn't answer in regard to into arrival or dismissal that we can touch upon really quickly? Ms. Ekper or Mr. Hudson or Ms. Small? Anything that needs to be addressed?
I think we got most of it. Yep, I think we're good to go.
Okay, cool. All right. All right, so we're going to talk about the schedule briefly. As you know, in a perfect world, all the students transition to their new homerooms today. If you are a virtual learner, you would be transitioning to the virtual homeroom. If you were in a homeroom that was dissolved because of a virtual learning teacher, those students would be in their new homerooms today. We realize that this is all new for everybody, so we're still working out the kinks, but I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Small, who's going to talk just for a minute about our schedule.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So like Jay just mentioned, today is the day that all of our primary campus students, kindergarten through second grade, are with their new teachers, their homeroom teacher and their virtual teacher. Friday, the 25th, Monday the 25th is going to be the day our new schedule is going to begin. We've been operating off of a virtual schedule since the beginning of the year, everyone on campus. And so now we're going to be moving to our new schedule, which is going to start on Monday. On the 29th, which is next Friday, that is when all of our main campus students, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, are going to transition to their new classes, either their new homeroom teacher or their virtual teacher. On the 15th of January, which was last Friday, all parents should have received communication from your homeroom teacher or the virtual teacher with information about your schedule, Zoom classroom links, and Google Classroom information. If you did not receive the email communication from a teacher, please reach out to our main office at the primary campus or the main campus to get information, and we will make sure those teachers reach out to you. Okay, so I just want to go over a sample schedule for you for our face-to-face students who are returning to campus. So this is just a sample schedule, and so the schedule that your boys and girls will be following might be slightly different. So one thing to note is an earlier start time. Arrival is going to begin at 7:30. It'll end at 8:15. We are going to have an extra 15 minutes to allot for the health screeners that have to happen in the beginning of the day. Our schedule also includes French for all students, an intervention block, which is about 40 minutes per day. That's going to alternate between A day and B day. Every classroom schedule includes lunch in the classroom with the teacher, and also recess on a rotation schedule. As you see here, we have specials, PE, art, music, and then even visiting with the media specialist for some checking out books and doing some reading. I want you to notice that in our schedule, we have multiple opportunities for students to have hand washing breaks in the classroom to make sure that their hands are sanitized, that everything is clean. And so we have a couple of hand washing breaks in the morning throughout the day, so students can, make sure everything is clean and tidy. Teachers will also be using hand washing breaks and sanitizing in between activities and between the specials classes. We have dismissal starting at 2:15. We anticipate dismissal taking a little bit longer than usual because instead of dismissing all of our students at one time, like we used to dismiss all of the bus riders to the gym, we're now going to dismiss buses one at a time. So dismissal will take a little bit longer for buses, carpool, and walkers. So we will allot an additional amount of time for that.
I do just want to add, Ms. Small, because looking at the specials blocks reminds me of this. APS is encouraging that we go to specials with our mitigation strategies. It's extremely important to know that mitigation strategies don't stop in the classroom. All of our specials teachers have the same exact guidelines, and our homeroom classroom setups, meaning a seating chart or assignment for a seating chart, is also shared with the specialist, so close contacts can be traced if we need to make sure that kids aren't mixing up in specials and sitting near different people. We are always going to protect our cohort, so there's no mixing of classes, but if Timmy sits next to Tommy in class, Timmy's going to sit next to Tommy in specials as well.
And so teachers have developed rotation schedules for using the restroom, for being on the playground, for recess and all of that. So as Jay mentioned, we're going to make sure we keep our cohorts protected. So next we have a quick look at a sample virtual learning schedule. We have a commitment to making sure that our virtual students who are learning virtually are still going to have the same high level of instruction that our face-to-face students are going to have. And so if you notice here, the day starts the same, 8 o'clock. Of course, you don't have arrival for virtual students, but 8 o'clock to 8:30 will be morning announcements, SCL in the morning meeting. You see an instructional block of time, which also includes intervention/French. We know that being on Zoom the whole day can be draining for students, so we have stretch breaks built in throughout, and then they also will have lunch. We don't have a recess break built in for virtual students, but they are free throughout the day to take a break as needed. We also have specials for virtual students, which is listed here. And then they're going to end the day with a little bit of independent practice, small group time with their teacher. And then the teacher will close out the day with office hours where he or she may be responding to parent emails or reaching out to you if there's a concern they want to address with you. And I think that wraps it up for schedules, Jay. And now Dwight. I'm sorry, now Mr. Bland is going to go into the dual language immersion.
Dwight and I will both discuss this. We have not touched upon DLI very much, primarily because that doesn't include our entire school, but I do want to take a minute to talk about DLI. We talk about really making a focus on our virtual learners having their own dedicated, equitable, fully certified Morris Brandon staff member. I want everybody to know that we do have teachers in our building that are rooming and Zooming with their students. We do not have the ability to have a virtual classroom for DLI, primarily based on the model of DLI and how it is served. But our students in DLI are going to be served in person and virtual at the same time. So hats off to our DLI teachers, because this is not easy to do. It's a strategy that we've tried to not duplicate throughout the entire building. So I would say that if you have students that are in an in-person homeroom or a virtual homeroom, they're only going to be with those teachers. There's no crossing. But DLI will have to be teaching in person and virtual students at the same time. If you are a DLI parent on this phone call, please practice patience. Our DLI teachers are extremely overwhelmed right now. I'm not going to lie. They are. They're doing an incredible job. They're going to be able to do this. I have no concerns about that. But transitioning from a virtual environment into an environment, and our DLI classes are the largest homerooms at Brandon. For that reason, we have made all of our DLI classes change classrooms to bigger rooms. So now they're not just preparing for the safety of their large classes, they've also had to move classrooms, and now they're having to also teach their virtual students at once. So it is a lot for them. So if you are a family in DLI, we are asking that you really, really offer grace and patience to those teachers, especially these first couple of days of school when technology issues may arise, because they're not going to be readily available to answer emails and to answer phone calls and to do all of that stuff to help. For that reason, if you are a virtual learner, which could also be virtual DLI, we have set up again our tech teacher. Ms. Chandra Brown has a Google Voice number, and I'm going to ask one of my admin to type that in the box so we don't lose it. For this very first week of school, when Ms. Chandra Brown does not have an assignment, she will be available to troubleshoot technology issues that first week. She is a Morris Brandon paraprofessional, extremely good with technology, and she's going to do everything we can to support or get you to the right person. You can always call the office as well. Virtual students that are learning with DLI are going to have a little bit of a different schedule. They're going to have some extra breaks during the day. They're going to have some time that they're going to have to make some adjustments before we learn when virtual students can take breaks, when our in-person students are using the restrooms and that type of thing. So it's going to be a process that we're trying to work on. I have no worries in the world they can do this, but we're worrying about this for DLI and not the whole building. So I want people to know that our DLI teachers are working extremely hard to make this as fluid as possible. They will communicate virtual expectations with those parents, with virtual students, and just know that they are incredible teachers. We've hired, I've almost hired 4 grade levels of them. So as we transition back into the classroom on Monday, especially for K2, please be patient with them as they are the only teachers in the building that are teaching virtual students and in person at the same time.
And
Mr. Hudson, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, just to back up a few little points, understand if they're Zooming in a typical situation, then they're just concerned with the Zoom and they have all the students in front of them. But in this situation, it's the reason we put that robot graphic. They almost become cyborgs. They'll be connected to an OWL camera, the board, a headset, and the Zoom technology. So with all of those things, and there's maybe some glitches sometimes, and so the students won't be able to directly communicate with them. And that's why it's very important that if you have concerns, just reach out to Ms. Chandra Brown. You can reach out to me here at the school, because they may not be able to respond to the student right away because they're also in the room with the students. Also, just being mindful that the students they will have to be just a little bit more independent during this time, and there are natural breaks that happen. So within the school day, we have transitions where we're going to lunch or we're going to recess, going to the bathroom, washing hands. When we have that time in the school building, it's natural and it's easy to see. But when we're virtual, or we have a group of students that's virtual and a group of students that's not, you don't always see that. So there will be times that they're offline or they'll be working independently during those types of transitions that are happening during the school day. And so it won't be exactly the same, and you will see a little bit of difference in the time, but just know that these are things that would naturally occur if they're in the school building, and they'll have other activities that they can do during that time or independent lessons that they can do to fill those gaps.
All right, I want to move on from DLI because we have a lot to do, but really quickly, this is for a question in there about support. Of course, we have support for our DLI teachers. We have a K-Para that's going to work with those students there. That's very helpful for virtual learners. We also have a long-term sub that we've brought on who's Spanish speaking, who's going to push into classes and support virtual learners. And then we have a virtual Spanish speaking para who will be pushing into DLI homerooms throughout the day to serve those students as well. They teach language lab virtually as well, so students can go to language lab. So we have all the supports there. It's just a matter of putting the rubber to the road at this point. In regard to how you can help, I really think that patience and grace is probably the best thing right now. I know you said other than that, but let's just wait to see how it goes, and then our DLI teachers will communicate some other supports and needs if they need it. All right, just some virtual expectations that we put on there. We'll probably post this on our website. This is Mr. Hudson's Bitmoji, if you can tell. It's just a great Bitmoji if you watch the announcements. But just something for our virtual learners that we're going to continue to review with them. We don't need to go through these right now, but these are just some really good points that we've actually been talking to our students about all year. But we made a cute little flyer like this that we're gonna share with them. All right, I want to talk about our intent to return just for a second. The first one is for Q4. If you are a virtual learner or in person, our intent to return window for Q4 is going to open February 15th. That means that if you are virtual and you want to return for our fourth quarter of school, you may. Fourth quarter will start at the end of March. I want to say March 22nd. So the intent to return window will be open for about a week. About a month and a week. So you will have the opportunity to redeclare what your learning situation is going to be. With that said, we have recently received our school projections and budgets for next year. And then my Go team is going to be presented with this budget principle template next Thursday. And I'm going to go through that with them. And shout out to all of our Go team members on here. I think I saw Claudia ask a couple questions or maybe a few more. They don't know what the budget is yet, but I will present that to them. Using our budget as a basis, we draft priorities that are going to help best serve our school and needs. On a typical year, we have an overflow of money and we can really, really look at our needs of our school. And we can still definitely do that. We want to make sure that if intervention and catch up and learning loss is the focus, that we are allotting money and resources to that. However, we are anticipating, and I know what it is, major loss due to enrollment. Okay. If you want to learn a little bit more about our enrollment projection and what that funding deficit is, you can join our Go team, my principal PowerPoint will be posted online. Okay. So we are anticipating, and we will be having significant budget loss for next year. Remember that budget loss comes in the form oftentimes as positions. Okay, as teacher positions. Students are funded in a success formula. Every student comes with a dollar amount of $4,445. So if we are 100 students under projection, you can pretty much do the math on that. So there's going to be some decisions and discussions that we're going to have with our Go team in the coming weeks, and they're going to really work with me closely to decide the priorities of our school and what we want to move forward with. For that reason, we are really, really curious and want to know who is planning to return to Morris Brandon. It's really, really important. I want to have numbers that I can take to our budget department and let them know, listen, we lost this many families this year. And I want everybody to know, and I meant to say this earlier, I never fault a family member or family for doing what's best for their family. So please just understand that. If you're on this call, you're a Morris Brandon family, so this probably doesn't apply to you. However, if you know families that have left Morris Brandon who are planning to return or just have left Morris Brandon, we want them to complete this survey. I want to know if their plans are to return next year so I can take those numbers, show our APS department to hopefully get some sort of leeway with our budget to maybe earn a little bit of extra dollars. Simple as that. Personally, I like to know who's coming back for staffing purposes so we can really determine if there's 50, 60 kids that are unaccounted for, what grade levels are they going to be in and who are they going to be so we can make sure that we staff appropriately. Share this survey with anybody you know that could be returning to Morris Brandon next year. Also, it really just needs to be completed one time for one family member. So if you have a family of 3 children, do one for all 3 or just, but don't do it multiple times or one time for all 3. This was in the B-mail. We'll continue to post this on our website, but we're probably going to close this survey soon. So I'm going to ask our family members to act as liaisons and our community members to share this with people in your neighborhoods who may be returning to Morris Brandon. Jen, I know you're busy at work. You were awesome at the website, but she'll post this on the website as well, hopefully later on today, so you can access the survey. The PowerPoint will also be on there as well. It's in the B-mail. Quickly, just about breakfast and lunch as we're rounding out the end. Breakfast and lunch is, I will say it's not free this year. We are part of a SSF We do offer, I'll say it's free. We'll say it's free. We'll do it that way. For quarter three only, breakfast and lunch are free. We did send out a survey that went out last Friday. And we really wanted to know quickly who is planning on eating breakfast and lunch. And that's a survey for every day they will get breakfast and lunch. We've padded that a little bit for families that may not have completed the survey, but we have submitted that. If you requested a meal during that survey, then you will get a meal, breakfast and lunch every day. If you move forward and you want a meal or request a meal, you can reach out to your homeroom teacher and we can make sure that's reflected for the following week. Okay, but we did pad it for every class to get a couple extra. We are encouraging you to bring breakfast and lunch for your students, or lunch or snacks for your own children if you are able to. Our kitchens are not operable right now, so all food is prepared off-site and it is delivered in a hot bag. We have limited staff to get the food to everybody, and we want to make sure that our students that truly need the lunch and breakfast can get that every single day. Of course, if you want breakfast and lunch, we will offer it to you, but we do encourage, just like transportation, to provide a breakfast and lunch if you are able to. All right, I'll do closing. We'll take a couple questions. We'll be done. I want to remind you guys to all be patient with arrival and dismissal next week as we work out the kinks. We're a hard work at planning. We have been flexible and adaptable since March 11th, and we're going to continue to do so. Please do your best to continue to utilize carpool. That's going to be the best means. If carpool is super crowded when you roll up, when you come to school, don't forget that carpool starts at 7:30 and it ends at 8:15. We have a really heavy load of carpool on a typical year at 7:45. And sometimes parents get frustrated and I say, well, carpool starts at 7:30. You can come at 7:30. And so continue to find those times as you move throughout where you can get through the carpool line with maybe less congestion. I anticipate the 7:40 to 8 o'clock to being the heaviest traffic time. 7:30 is a great time. 8 a.m. is a great time. We will adjust to carpool all the way up till 8:15 for the time being. That most likely will not be all year, but for the time being. We have bus mitigation strategies in place. We encourage parents to carpool if they can, but if they want to ride the bus, it will be safe, and we will make sure that that the mitigation strategies are in place. Parents of walkers limit their time on campus, drop your child off, take all photos at home, give them a hug, and then please be on your way. We will take it from there. That's what you've wanted all along, and we will have your kids all day long. Meal service is beginning day 1. That's the 25th. We've opened our mask sales again. That's exciting. So if you looked at our Facebook page and you want to order some more masks, Morris Brandon mask sales are open. I believe it's going to be open until next Sunday. Mr. Hudson is modeling that right now for us. Technology, I want to touch upon briefly because I do understand that not everybody has a school issued device. Please don't worry about technology right now. If you have an APS issued device, please send it in with your child. They'll be able to utilize it in class. If you do not have an APS device, that is okay. We did ask that you could bring in your personal devices, and you can, but it is not mandatory, and it is not mandatory that you have a device. We still have computer labs in each building, and we are going to be allotting certain computers for classes with deep cleanings in between if we were to use those. Plus, we do have plenty of extra Chromebooks at school that we could utilize as needed. So don't stress over technology either right now, okay? Also, I want everybody to remember that COVID cases and exposures, they all must come through me. They can start with your homeroom teacher. They can go to the nurse, but it all must come through me. We notify the health department and nursing services who tell us what to do. So we do not make any decisions at the school level. That we handle it through our nurses and the nursing services and APS who lean on the Department of Public Health. And then we relay that information back to you. I also want everybody to know that we did film a little video here. I don't know if anybody has watched it, but it's a reopening video that's being shown to all of our primary center in-person students only. One of the reasons why we wanted to change homerooms today was to make sure that our virtual students had a virtual experience and did not get a lot of information shoved to them about being in person, because we understand that some kids may want to come back but are not able to. So I'll just show you the first second of this video. Can anybody see this? Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who would have thought that we'd
Come in.
right here where we need you? Well, I will spare you watching the entire video, but I do want to thank Sam DiCarlo for putting it together. He did that just like he did our IB video. If you have a chance to watch it, please do. It does talk about our arrival. It talks about how to get into school. We'll be filming another one next week for our main campus as well. But I think that's it. If we have any questions, we can go ahead and answer some of them. I want to remind everybody of our essential agreements that we'll put everywhere for our families. We'll post them on our website. They'll be shared with our in-person students who are coming back. And I'll hand it off to Ms. Ekper or Ms. Small if we have any closing questions or anything that we can assist with prior to day one. And if not, thank you guys. You're welcome to jump off, but we'll stick around just for a couple more minutes.
Jay, there was one question from Sarah. She was looking at the survey, and at the top of the survey, it says, please note this survey is only for families that are not currently enrolled in Morris Brandon Elementary School.
That is correct. I need the survey to be completed by families who are Morris Brandon neighborhood families who are not attending our school for whatever reason. We were projected at 950 students this year. We have 838 now. I would love to have those 112 families to take that survey.
There's a question about the Hive after school, just in general, and any information you have about it.
Sure, the Hive I've worked very closely with in regard to mitigation strategies. However, their registration and everything is handled through them. From my understanding, they are capping their Hive at 50 students at both buildings. So 50 at one and 50 at the other, and no more. And that registration should already have been sent out, or you can visit a website or probably their Facebook page. We can get some information on that potentially posted on our PTA Facebook page. Recording will definitely be available. We're going to post this as soon as I hit end. We have to just let it upload. Ms. McCarron, absolutely. Come on.
Hey, this was not my plan to do this, but since we have an audience here, would you mind spotlighting me for a second? Sorry. It's not because I love the limelight. It's because I want to show you guys something. Okay. Hi, I'm Ms. McCarron, and I will be teaching all of your students music. So some of them had Miss Lou, and some of them had me for first semester, but they're all going to have me now. And I've figured out a way for us to safely play drums during class, and I know the kids will love it. So what I'm asking parents is whenever you go to the grocery store or Target, if you can hang on to those thousands of plastic grocery bags that you get and send them to school, what we'll do is we'll put them right on top of the drums. Kids can use them once. Miss Sip says she has thousands. And then at the end of class, they'll just take that off. It will only have their icky little germs on it. And then we'll put them in a recycling bin. And on Fridays, I will get those properly recycled at Publix or Kroger or someplace like that. So that would be awesome if you could do that. And I'll also put a message about it in Google Classroom. That's all.
All right, awesome. And just one more question I meant to answer earlier, just about DLI, since they are the only, that's the only classroom that does have virtual students joining in with them, that if they need to quarantine for whatever reason, then they can transition to that role. But for DLI only, that is one of the perks of that, I assume. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting out, everybody. Thank you so much. Are we allowed to send individually wrapped bulk snacks for kids who might need extra during the day? We have plenty of extra snacks, but if you would like to donate snacks to the office, that would be great as well. We do have a backup plan for lunches for that first week as well. But if you have anything you want to send extra to our office staff that can have snacks for students who may not have brought, that would be great as well. Virtual grade level teachers. Virtual grade level teachers are kindergarten, Miss Lucky, first grade, Miss Kendall, second grade, Miss Bird, third grade, Miss Knuckles, fourth grade, Miss Davis, and fifth grade, Dr. Porter. Virtual dismissal, it says schedule sent to K and first parents at 2:15. We say 2:15, but if you're carpool, we're going to be starting early. So when I say 2 o'clock, we'll most likely be starting at 2 o'clock. If you have to come later, I mean, they have classes that go up to 2:15. So generally speaking, every year's been like that. But we're just going to try and start a little bit earlier these first couple days of school. Got you, Marissa. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day and a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.